Hi, everyone. It's Julie and Jeff again. Once again, our apologies for the technical difficulties. We believe that we have it figured out, so hopefully any presentations going forward will go much more smoothly, but we do appreciate your patience and flexibility. We figured we'd just start the presentation completely over so you have a full recording to work off of. And as we mentioned previously, we will follow up with each of you to make sure that any questions that you may have are answered. And we may even share all of the questions each of you had with the rest of the group, just to make sure that everyone is able to take advantage of the semi-live presentation that we were trying to do here. So once again, our apologies and thank you for your patience. My name is Julie. This is Jeff. As I mentioned, we specialize in working with physicians. Over 90% of our clients are physicians and non-for-profit medical societies. And we help physicians with aspects of wealth management that are most important to them: advanced planning, investment consulting, and relationship management. And the trust that our clients have placed in us has resulted in us managing over $1 billion in physician assets, which is something that we are extremely proud of.
Some quick disclaimers we're always required to give. We are associated with a broker-dealer, Osdale Financial Partners, that allows us to buy securities and insurance products for our clients. We're also registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission that allows us to provide wealth management advice and recommendations to our clients. Real quickly, as a reminder of what we are offering, since you watched this video, we offer, if you make a $350 donation to the DuPage County Medical Society Foundation, MEDIQUS will complete a no-cost second opinion review of your financial situation. We'll take a look at where you're at today in terms, in relation to your goals, and let you know if any adjustments need to be made to get you on a better path. So again, $350 donation to the DuPage County Medical Society Foundation. They're a great cause. They provide grants to medical students from DuPage County. So great way for you to support a good organization doing good things, and to also get yourself a nice benefit as well with a no-cost financial review. So again, today, what we're going to be looking at is the new retirement lifestyle. What does retiring in 2022 look like? We'll look at what a financially successful retirement looks like. We'll also let you know some good ways to prepare for a financially successful retirement. So with that, we'll get into the presentation. Again, thank you for being patient with us in terms of the technical difficulties. So here we go.
Taking a look at our agenda for the day, we'll cover what a retirement lifestyle looks like today, things to considering when transitioning into retirement, sources of income during retirement and distribution strategies, the important role your portfolio plays in retirement, and if tweaks may be necessary, and we'll end with reviewing the importance of having estate planning documents in place and the best way to make charitable gifts. Let's get started with a look at what retirement looks like today and how it has changed a bit from generations previously. A survey conducted on 14,400 workers and 1,600 retired individuals in 15 developed countries found that the majority of people associate positive words with retirement, including leisure, freedom, and enjoyment. Yet in a world in which 1 in 5 people can expect to live beyond their 90th birthday, traditional ways of looking at retirement are also changing. People see retirement as an active stage of life in which they aspire to stay socially connected, involved in their communities, and continue to work in some capacity. Individuals also aspire to travel, spend time with family, pursue hobbies, and volunteer. Many workers now also envision fully retiring at an older age. Retirement has become a transition that offers the promise of continued work, albeit at a more relaxed pace with more time to enjoy life. However, success in achieving this largely depends on workers' health and financial ability. Leaving a life focused around a career represents a major transition. While taking a break from the workday world may be a relief, you may find yourself wanting to continue an active lifestyle. As mentioned before, along with travel and renewed interest in a hobby, more baby boomers realize the importance of being involved during retirement, which could mean continuing to work on a reduced scale, getting involved with charitable organizations, or even taking on childcare duties with grandkids. Studies have also shown that pre-retirees and retirees differ in their top concerns for retirement. Prior to retirement, financial issues such as the risk of outliving assets and funding healthcare later in life are top of mind. For those already retired, priorities change to more holistic matters, maintaining a quality of life, minimizing the risk of mental or physical decline, and not wanting to become a burden to their families. So if you have not retired yet, which I'm sure many of you have not, what you think is important and needs your attention is likely to change significantly. From working and speaking with our clients, having a financial plan in place that you are confident in allows you to focus on a holistic lifestyle versus being concerned about your financial future. It can remove the what ifs. Next, let's take a look at some changing trends in the retirement landscape. If you think retirement means you're done with work forever, the statistics say otherwise. By 2024, the Bureau of Labor Statistics projects that the labor force will grow to about 164 million people. That number includes about 41 million people who will be ages 55 and older, of whom about 13 million are expected to be ages 65 and older. And although they make up a smaller number of workers overall, the 65 to 74-year-old and 75 and older age groups are projected to have faster rates of labor force growth annually than any other age groups. Over the entire 2014 to 2024 decade, the labor force growth rate of 65 to 74-year-old age group is expected to be about 55%, and the labor force growth rate of the 75 and older age group is expected to be about 86%, compared with a 5% increase for the labor force as a whole. Now, if you have prepared for retirement well, work is a choice, not something you must do. You can continue to work in an area you've always had an interest or a passion in. You can work to keep your mind sharp or strengthen or build social groups. Work in retirement can be a healthy addition to this new phase of your life. There's also a changing trend in how people are viewing their housing arrangements in retirement. In a 2021 Transamerica survey, 90% of respondents indicated that staying in their homes was important to them. However, since entering retirement, almost 40% have moved to a new home. The interesting fact is only 29% of those that moved listed downsizing as the reason. Retirees are finding themselves right-sizing or upsizing their homes. During a particularly hot real estate market, retirees may be able to make a great profit on their home. Moving to a less expensive part of the country may allow them to either purchase a larger, more luxurious home, or a home that is just the right size for their stage of life, not too big and not too small. Why has this been happening? Well, the stock market has had historic rises over the past decade, which has helped to pad the retirement accounts of many retirees. The retirement plans for many retirees may have paid off better than they were projected due to the stock market, and retirees are likely to use this windfall on their housing and lifestyle. Low interest rates also make it increasingly easy for retirees to get into a larger, more lavish home with minimal financing. When combined with a hot real estate market, it makes upsizing or right-sizing very attractive to some retirees. The pandemic has also changed how people live their day-to-day lives and how they value their homes. With many traveling less and spending more time at home, they're investing in their homes, whether that's expanding their home or purchasing additional homes in other parts of the country and world. Another changing trend is in healthcare. Not surprising to many of you, I'm sure, healthcare is now one of the top expenses in retirement. As quality of care and other factors continue to increase life expectancy, they also bring significant expenses. According to the Fidelity Retiree Healthcare Cost Estimate, an average retired couple aged 65 in 2021 may need approximately $300,000 saved after tax to cover healthcare expenses in retirement. While Medicare provides health insurance for people aged 65 and older, it does not cover all medical expenses, including long-term care costs. With expenses on the rise and limits to Medicare coverage, filling the gaps falls increasingly to individuals. Two tools can help you in preparation for and while living in retirement. Pre-retirement, a health savings account can be considered if you select a high deductible healthcare plan. It is a tax-efficient opportunity to plan for future medical expenses, which allow account holders to invest pre-tax dollars year over year to save for healthcare expenses now or in the future. This can lead to some meaningful growth and flexibility, as well as the possibility of stockpiling assets in a tax-efficient manner. HSAs offer a rare triple tax benefit, including pre-tax contributions, tax-free growth, and tax-free withdrawals for qualifying healthcare expenses. In retirement, consider Medicare supplement plans. Due to the limits of Medicare, many retirees purchase Medicare supplement plans to address rising costs. These plans can help with deductibles and include additional services like prescription drugs, vision, hearing, and others. Finally, one of the largest spending shocks facing a retired household is the need for ongoing long-term care. As you grow older, the potential for experiencing a long-term care event becomes increasingly likely. The annual median cost in 2021 of a private room in a nursing home facility in Indiana is approximately $107,000 per year. An assisted living facility is approximately $55,000 per year, and a home health aide providing 40 hours of care is approximately $52,000. With nursing home stays averaging 2.5 years and costs outpacing inflation, you should carefully plan for the potential of a long-term care stay. These expenses can have a devastating impact on your retirement if not properly planned for. Now that we have covered some of the major changes in how people are retiring, let's take a look at why they are retiring. While years away from retirement, a majority of people assume their age will determine when they retire. However, in reality, the majority of people retire due to changes at work. I'm sure everyone listening today has experienced significant shifts in their workplaces, even in the last 5 to 10 years. We have all heard the statistics about physician burnout and how some of these changes are leading to people leaving medicine altogether. It is often a major change at work that causes people to say, "This is no longer for me." Because a change at work can result in an early retirement, it is extremely important to start retirement planning early by running several retirement age scenarios. This can illustrate the impact of an early retirement on your overall retirement spending and can illustrate the additional savings needed to reach your spending goals. The last thing you want is to be stuck working a job you no longer enjoy simply because you didn't plan ahead and are now forced to work longer than you wanted. Now that we have covered why you might retire, when do you know you are ready to retire? Our clients have had success following these steps. First, you know what you want to do or at least have a plan to find out. Next, you have a strong financial plan with sufficient financial resources designed around your goals. Finally, you've had your resources and goals reviewed by a professional to ensure you are truly in a position to stop working. Knowing with confidence that you are in a place to retire without risking running out of money too soon is critical. It is worth having a professional check your numbers. Many will do it for a modest fee. Others, like ourselves, offer to do it at no cost as part of a complimentary review. As you begin the transition to retirement, these are some items to keep in mind. Settling business arrangements. If you own your practice, speak with your accountant and attorney about how to structure your practice sale. There are generally two options, an asset sale or a stock sale. Next, determine which insurance policies you would like or need to maintain during retirement and which can be surrendered. Make sure any automatic payments are canceled that are no longer needed in relation to work so that the money is no longer being drawn from your accounts. Depending on your age, determine if you need a Medicare supplement plan, and if so, which kind. The most important thing to determine is where you will start drawing your income from. Are you going to start drawing it directly from retirement accounts? Are you over age 59 and a half and can you withdraw without penalty? Are you going to take money out of taxable accounts? What are the capital gains implications? Discussions about where your income must come from will be one of the most important conversations/decisions you make early in your retirement. I'm now going to turn it over to Julie, who will discuss income sources in greater detail.
Thanks, Jeff.
As you approach retirement, having a sense of your goals and priorities, including the timing, is an important first step. As you age, what you spend money on will shift, and priorities may be driven by changes in physical capacity. Early on, there will likely be more allocation to travel and recreational activities, and this will shift to a slower pace, likely with more allocation to family and health goals. Once you have an understanding of your income requirements, you can identify sources of reliable income, such as Social Security benefits, pension benefits, part-time employment income, and rental income, just to name a few. From there, depending on your cash flow needs, you will want to have a plan for tapping into your other assets, such as brokerage accounts and retirement accounts. This requires both a strategic and tactical plan designed to work together. The key is to continue strategically investing while making tax-efficient choices as you draw down. All of these items need to be considered in relation to an assumed inflation rate, the return on your investment portfolio, and perhaps most importantly, your life expectancy. A major adjustment for the future is the eventual end of a regular paycheck and an adjustment to your budget formula. Pre-retirement, your budget formula should place an emphasis on savings and fixed essential expenses, such as your mortgage, bills, insurance premiums, and food. This ensures you are saving appropriately to reach your retirement goals. Any remaining funds can be used for discretionary expenses, your fun money. Any bonuses received each year can be put towards additional savings as well. Meeting your financial needs in retirement starts with envisioning your goals and projecting related expenses to determine your budget. Everyone needs to plan for fixed essential living expenses and health care in retirement and adjust accordingly each year. Fixed essential expenses in retirement are similar to your pre-retirement expenses, but should also factor in entertainment and recreation as these items become more prevalent during your retirement years. Planning for a separate healthcare goal is wise, as it will be impacted more significantly by inflation. Thinking through your other goals and spending categories is the next step. This is your allowable discretionary spending, which might include replacing a car, travel plans, paying for weddings, housing repairs, or charitable gifting. Incorporating an estimate for the cost and timing of your discretionary goals will give you a more realistic view of overall total costs and a better understanding of your spending needs. Retirement research indicates that retirees experience a drop in spending during the later years of retirement. There's typically a continued decline in spending as the early go-go years transition to less active years and then wind down to a period of little discretionary spending. It is estimated that inflation-adjusted spending on essentials for retirees decreases by 10% per decade, while other expenses such as recreational expenses drop by twice that amount. Therefore, your budget should be revisited each year to determine spending needs in relation to your various income sources to ensure you are on track. Here are some examples of possible sources of income. For most physicians, Social Security replaces only a small portion of your pre-retirement income, requiring you to consider other sources of reliable income. A monthly pension provided by a former employer, or consistent income from business interests, investment properties, and part-time employment can also be considered a source of reliable income. Required minimum distributions from your employer-sponsored plans and traditional IRAs will be a strategic source of reliable income as well once you turn age 72. Prior to this, how you choose to use these funds will, in large part, depend on your tax status. Identifying other sources of income is the next step. This would include interest income, dividends, and distributions from brokerage accounts. Ideally, the income originating from your reliable sources, along with your earnings and interest, will be sufficient to fund your essential lifestyle needs, including your healthcare expenses and taxes. This combination allows you to plan for the timing of other cash flows based on the expected level of discretionary spending each year. When it comes to thinking about the role Social Security plays in a retirement plan, most people want to know, when should I claim benefits, and how much can I expect to receive? The simple answer to these questions is, it depends. That's because every person approaches Social Security with a different set of financial circumstances, tax issues, and health considerations. That's why it's important to begin considering Social Security years before your anticipated retirement date and craft your personal strategy with the help of your financial advisor. Claiming Social Security is one area where flexibility can help you adapt to changing realities, like an early or delayed retirement, as well as your plans for working in retirement. While you may elect to receive Social Security benefits as early as age 62, the full retirement age for collecting benefits is currently age 67 for those born after 1959. If you tap Social Security after reaching full retirement age, your monthly benefit will be higher due to delayed retirement credits. While maximizing your benefit is important, you should consider several other factors. Although you can tap Social Security benefits as early as age 62, your monthly benefit will be significantly and permanently lower than if you had waited until your full retirement age. By claiming benefits at age 62 versus your full retirement age, you will permanently reduce your benefit by over 25%. In contrast, if you delay taking benefits past your full retirement age, your monthly benefit will increase until you turn 70 and reach the maximum benefit amount. Benefits increase nearly 8% each year past your full retirement age. Where else can you receive such a high guaranteed rate of return? As mentioned previously, the best claiming strategy for each person will vary depending on several factors such as cash flow needs. Do you have sufficient income from other sources to allow you to delay receiving benefits? Your life expectancy. The shorter your anticipated life expectancy, the earlier you should begin benefits. Your break-even age, which is the point in your life when the total of lower benefits from an early start age come to equal the total of benefits that you would have received if you had waited to take your benefits at full retirement age or later. The average break-even age for top wage earners between filing at age 62 and 66 is between the ages of 77 and 78. And the break-even age between filing at age 66 and 70 is between ages 82 and 83. Therefore, if you believe you will live to pass to age 83, delaying benefits may make sense. Your marital status and your spouse's age should be considerations as well. Keep in mind that married couples have more options when it comes to collecting Social Security benefits than single individuals. So if you're married, be sure to coordinate the strategy with your spouse. If you're still working and claim Social Security benefits before your full retirement age, you will be subject to an earnings test until you reach full retirement age. If you have earned income over $19,560 in 2022, you'll forfeit $1 of benefit for every $2 of earned income over this limit. Another factor to consider is taxation of your benefits. This comes into play for those who claim benefits but still have earned income over $25,000 for single filers or $32,000 for joint filers. While many individuals will be subject to taxation of a portion of Social Security benefits even while retired, delaying paying taxes on the benefits for as long as possible can be considered. A Social Security filing strategy should take into account potential spousal benefits. You can receive up to 50% of your spouse's Social Security benefit if the Social Security benefit based on your own record is less than the spousal benefit you qualify for. To qualify for a 50% benefit, you must file for Social Security at your full retirement age. If you file for benefits prior to your full retirement age, your spousal benefit will be permanently reduced along with the benefit you could receive based on your own record. To receive a spousal benefit, your spouse will need to have claimed benefits as well. If you reach full retirement age before your spouse and file for benefits, you will receive a benefit based on your own record until your spouse files. At that time, your benefit will increase to the 50% spousal benefit. Please note you must be married for at least 1 year to claim spousal benefits. If your spouse passes away, you will receive the greater of your current benefit or 100% of the deceased spouse's benefit. The rules for former spouses are a bit different. Former spouses can collect benefits on the work record of an ex who has not yet filed for his or her own Social Security benefits if all of the following hold. You are both 62 or older, the marriage lasted for at least 10 years, and you've been divorced for at least 2 years. You should carefully consider the filing strategy that will yield the highest benefit based on your personal situation. As an example, if one spouse earns more than the other, it can make sense for the higher earner to delay filing for benefits until age 70 and the lower earner to file at full retirement age. The lower earning spouse can receive some Social Security benefits until the higher earner files, at which point the lower earner spouse's benefit will increase to 50% of the higher earner, and the higher earner has maximized their Social Security benefit. This can result in a larger lifetime benefit for both spouses and an increased benefit for a surviving spouse. If both spouses have equivalent earnings records, they can each consider delaying benefits until age 70 to maximize their lifetime benefits. There are several other strategies to consider, and you should speak with a financial advisor about which strategy makes sense for your particular situation. One final note about Social Security. Many people, particularly younger workers, believe that Social Security may not be around by the time they retire. While it's true that Social Security pays out more benefits than it receives in contributions, the Social Security Board of Trustees contends that there's enough money saved to pay out full benefits until 2034. If no changes are made to Social Security, payroll taxes are projected to be enough to pay 79% of scheduled benefits after 2034. To keep Social Security solvent, Congress could decide to raise Social Security payroll taxes, raise the current ceiling on wages that are subject to Social Security tax. In 2022, up to $147,000 in income is taxed. Raise retirement age past age 67, or reduce future benefits, especially for wealthier retirees. While we cannot predict if Social Security will become completely insolvent, younger workers should factor in reduced or no Social Security benefits in their financial plans to ensure they are saving appropriately to meet their financial goals with or without Social Security. The largest source of retirement income for most physicians are their retirement plans. These are employer-sponsored plans, such as traditional 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, etc., or Roth 401ks and IRAs. As a reminder, a contribution to a traditional 401k or IRA reduces your taxable income, grows tax deferred, and distributions are taxed as ordinary income. A contribution to a Roth 401k or IRA does not reduce your taxable income, grows tax deferred, and qualified distributions are tax-free. These are important distinctions to keep in mind during both the contribution phase and the distribution of assets during retirement. Once you reach age 72, you will be required to begin required minimum distributions from your retirement plans. These may apply to 401ks and 403bs unless you are still working and are not an owner of the company, Roth 401ks or 403bs, although distributions are not taxable, and traditional IRAs, just to name a few. The RMD formula is the previous year's year-end balance divided by a factor based on your age in the year the RMD is taken. There are steep penalties for not taking your RMD, 50% of the amount not taken on time. Therefore, it is extremely important to keep track of all your accounts subject to RMDs and ensure you are taking appropriate amounts each year. Here's an example of an RMD for an individual who turned 75 in 2022 with an account balance of $500,000 on December 31st, 2021. The December 31st value is divided by the distribution factor, yielding an RMD of $21,836, all of which will be taxable as income. If you don't need the income from RMDs to meet your current retirement expenses, they may feel like a nuisance. They need to be calculated each year, may provide unnecessary taxable income, and if you miss taking one, can result in stiff penalties. And if you reinvest your RMDs in a taxable account, you are potentially reducing your after-tax return compared with what you would receive if the money remained in the tax-advantaged traditional IRA or 401k. A strategy to consider is a conversion of some or all eligible amounts to a Roth IRA, which will reduce or eliminate your need to take RMDs and may also allow you to pass more of your retirement account savings onto your heirs. It may be advantageous to convert before you turn age 72, since you will otherwise be required to take RMDs before any conversions are made. Some additional items to consider. A Roth IRA conversion has a cost, which is the income taxes on the amount you convert. It generally makes sense to use taxable assets rather than the proceeds from a converted account to pay the tax cost of a Roth IRA conversion. This means that having funds available outside of IRA assets to pay the conversion taxes is important for the conversion to make economic sense. The amount you convert from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA is treated as income, just like all taxable distributions from pre-tax qualified accounts. Therefore, the conversion amount may increase your income to a level that results in an additional 3.8% Medicare surtax on your investment income, such as income from interest, dividends, and capital gains, just to name a few. If you are planning on leaving retirement savings to heirs, consider how it may affect their taxes. Because of their RMDs, inherited traditional IRAs generate taxable income for heirs, often during their peak earning years. These distributions will result in taxes when they may rather be avoided or unintentionally push heirs into higher tax brackets. Further, the accounts must be distributed over 10 years. Inheriting Roth IRA assets, of which distributions generally don't incur income taxes, can be a benefit to your heirs. However, there are many details to consider. For example, if your heirs are likely to be in a much lower tax bracket than you are, it may be advantageous to leave them a traditional IRA. That's because it may be better for them to pay lower taxes in the future than for you to pay higher taxes now. Also, Roth IRA conversions may be unfavorable to those who intend to leave at least some of their assets to charitable institutions. Traditional IRAs can typically be left to charity without any tax bill at all for either party, so in that case, conversion will mean that the tax was paid needlessly. We highly encourage you to speak with your accountant regarding a Roth conversion strategy to determine if it is right for you. Here is a very basic example of how a Roth IRA conversion strategy can work for an individual who is retired and has not yet reached RMD age. Bob is 65 and retired and has $2 million of retirement savings in a former 401k plan. He is concerned about future taxes and would like to reduce the amount of his assets that will be subject to RMDs. He is also concerned about leaving his children with a large pre-tax IRA, which they will need to distribute over 10 years. His total taxable income is $70,000 per year, which places him in the 22% tax bracket. He would like to stay in the 22% tax bracket for as long as possible. Bob can convert up to $16,375 of his 401k to a Roth IRA and stay in the 22% tax bracket. This will allow the new Roth IRA assets to grow tax deferred. Bob can receive tax-free distributions after 5 years from the Roth IRA, and there will be no RMD requirements on those assets. Bob will pay income taxes on the converted amount, and Bob has also reduced the balance of his 401k plan, which will result in a lower RMD at age 72. Bob can continue this strategy each year until he turns 72. Once you retire, determining what to do with your former employer retirement plan assets should be considered. Here are the options you have. You can keep assets in your former employer's plan. However, you should consider that most plans provide a limited set of investment options to employees to choose from, many lacking investment options for all available asset classes, such as large, small, and international companies, domestic and international bonds, and real estate. This can result in a non-well-diversified plan, which increases the overall risk. In addition, typically the investment options available through employer plans have higher fees. Rolling plan assets to an IRA can be considered as well. If you need assistance with a distribution strategy or an account allocation strategy, working with an advisor makes sense. Typically, with an advisor, you also have access to the entire investment universe, which can allow for a better diversified account. Prior to working with an advisor, you should determine their fees and ensure they are a fiduciary. And finally, you can consider converting all or a portion of the 401k or other employer-sponsored plan to a Roth IRA. Per our example on the previous slide, it's important to determine the tax consequences of doing so.
Thanks, Julie. Now that Julie's discussed sources of income and some important strategies for different retirement accounts, let's talk about how much money you may need to have saved in order to retire. To give you an idea, here's an example. In this example, there is a physician that wants to retire today, and they want to have $10,000 of inflation-adjusted monthly income that will last them for 30 years. As a reminder, inflation is the idea that goods and services get more expensive over time. So what $10,000 can purchase today is going to be more than what $10,000 can purchase 10 or 20 years from now. For this physician to maintain their purchasing power, each year they're going to have to take out more than $10,000 a month to ensure that they are not losing purchasing power over that time. But again, in this example, there's a physician that wants to retire today, have $10,000 of inflation-adjusted monthly income that will last them for 30 years. How much money are they going to need to have saved in order to accomplish that goal? Well, approximately $3.6 million. That's a significant amount of money. Now, if the rate of return on their investments is higher in retirement and the rate of inflation is lower, they may not need as much as $3.6 million. But if the rate of return on their investments is lower, the rate of inflation is higher, they may need more than $3.6 million. But $3.6 million is a nice conservative estimate for what a physician would need to retire with today in order to produce that $10,000 per month of inflation-adjusted income. Now, why may $3.6 million not apply to many of you? When will you be retiring? 5, 10, 20 years from now? What's going to come into play between now and then? Inflation. What $3.6 million can purchase today is going to be more than what $3.6 million can purchase in the future. If you're not retiring today and want this level of income, you will likely need much more than $3.6 million saved. If you think you will retire 10 years from now, how much will you need to have saved to produce this same level of income? Well, you'll need to have earmarked for retirement conservatively between $5.37 million and $7.99 million. That is a significant amount of savings. How are you going to get there? Well, you need to have a plan in place to start saving and investing as much as possible so that compounding growth can do some of the heavy lifting for you. Compounding growth is one of the most powerful tools available to those trying to grow wealth. To achieve compounding growth, you have to have that money invested for the future. When you invest, there's typically two types of investment assets that you can invest in. There are loanership assets. This is where you loan an entity money and they promise to pay you interest in return. This is most commonly seen in the form of CDs and bonds. Or there are ownership assets. This is where you actually purchase a small slice of an entity or the entire entity. This is most commonly seen in the form of stocks and real estate. From a very simplistic standpoint, your loanership assets are better for short-term investment goals, and ownership assets are better for long-term investment goals. Ownership assets have greater potential for gains, but also greater potential for losses. Low ownership assets have a lower potential for gains, but have better downside protections. As many people start approaching retirement, they start transitioning a greater percentage of their investment assets into lower risk categories like bonds. This often makes sense since now you need these assets to generate your income. You can't afford for the balance to drop significantly if there is a large market downturn. A heavier emphasis on low ownership assets means the account balance won't fluctuate as much with market movements. Make sure to use caution though when transitioning your portfolio, as we do see some investors overdo it. As a reminder, at your retirement, you are likely still going to be invested for another 10 or 20 years. You still want some assets invested in ownership investments so that they can take advantage of long-term growth. Retirement becomes a combination of short-term income needs with long-term investment horizons. If you do decide to transition into a more bond-heavy portfolio, this is a hypothetical example of what that could look like. Everyone's needs are different, so this should not be taken as recommended changes, just as an example. In this portfolio, the assets are split approximately 92% equities/ownership assets and 8% bond/low ownership assets. It is fair to say that this is a fairly aggressive portfolio. As this investor starts approaching retirement age, they may start transitioning their asset allocation to be more bond focused. In this example, they move from a 92-8 equity to bond split into an 81-19 split. This new allocation provides more downside protection and likely will not fluctuate as much as the more equity focused portfolio would in a market downturn. That being said, a significant portion of the portfolio remains in equities since they still have another 20 to 30 years to hopefully take advantage of continued market growth. As this investor enters retirement or is in their later retirement years, they may transition their portfolio into an even more bond-focused allocation. With less years to stay invested, they desire less risk. However, as you can see, a good portion of the portfolio is still invested in ownership assets/equities in an attempt to still capitalize on some upward market movements. As a reminder, this is just an example. To determine when you should start transitioning your portfolio, or if that is even necessary, we recommend you speak with a financial professional who can evaluate your rate of return needs and income requirements. As we just discussed, from a very simplistic standpoint, your low ownership assets are better for short-term goals, your ownership assets are better for long-term goals. Seems pretty simple, right? In reality, investing is much harder. A study was once conducted that looked at a number of different investments and how they performed over a 20-year period. They then looked at how the average investor who was invested in that same investment performed over that same 20-year period. Regardless of the investment, the average investor performed almost half as well as the actual investment they were invested in. Why did this happen? Well, investors make mistakes. They try to guess which way the market is going to go. They try and day trade. They trade based off of emotion. These all led to underperformance. Trying to figure out what an investment is going to do over a short time period is very difficult to do. One of my favorite stories was a bet that happened between Warren Buffett and some of the largest hedge fund managers in the world. Warren Buffett bet them that they could not outperform a simple S&P 500 index fund consistently over a 5-year period. All these hedge fund managers had to do was outperform an S&P 500 fund 5 years in a row, and Warren Buffett would donate $1 million to a charity of their choice. If they could not do it, they had to donate $1 million to a charity of his choice. This bet lasted 10 years and not a single one of the hedge fund managers were able to do it. So what should that tell us as regular investors? That trying to outperform the market is very difficult, if not impossible, to do. These hedge funds have millions of dollars they can pour into research, and not even they are able to do it consistently. You're better off choosing a basket of investments you feel confident about long term and just letting them ride out over that time period. Stock picking, day trading, emotional reactions to up and down markets are some of the biggest threats to your investment performance. Another way of saying this is you are one of the greatest threats to your investment performance. Let's take a look at some of the other top reasons for long-term investment loss. The first and most prevalent are euphoria and panic. We have already discussed a bit the impact that emotions can play on investment performance, but it's worth mentioning again. Euphoria and panic are the two biggest causes of long-term investment loss, and they are emotional reactions to what is happening in the markets. Euphoria, an investment, or the markets as a whole have been shooting through the roof, and you don't want to miss out on all the action. So after the markets have gone up significantly, you buy in. Panic, the markets are down 20, 30, 40%, and you're scared that you're going to lose all of your money, so you sell to hold on to what's left. Well, in these examples, you are buying high and selling low, which is the opposite of the fundamental investment premise of buying low and selling high. And the reason you do this is you have succumbed to the emotions of investing. Other top reasons for long-term investment loss are investors can be afraid of change. Maybe it's an investment that you've held for a while and you've become attached to it. And it may be a good investment, but it's important to regularly monitor that investment, make sure it's performing to expectation, and if it's not, don't be afraid to make a change. There's no bonus points for loyalty when it comes to investing for your future. Another common reason for long-term investment loss is investors believe information equals wisdom. Can't tell you how many times we've had a client call us up and say, I just read about this new medical device in this online article and I think it's going to be the next big thing. Well, it may end up being a good investment, but a lot more needs to go into an investment decision than just what you've read in an online article. There are publications out there today who are paid to specifically promote certain products or companies. Other publications that are paid to specifically bash companies or products. So it's really difficult to know if you're getting unbiased and accurate information. It's important to run any potential investment opportunities by your financial professional, and they should be able to tell you the strengths and weaknesses of that investment. Another common reason for investment loss is investors can be under-diversified. If you have all of your retirement savings in Apple stock and the next iPhone's not very good and Apple stock tumbles 20%, well, your retirement savings just fell 20% along with it. It's important to be diversified. At MEDIQUS, we assist our clients with doing this by investing in mutual funds and ETFs. For those not familiar, a mutual fund or an ETF, ETF stands for Exchange Traded Fund. These are baskets of investments. So one of these funds may invest in 100 or 500 or 1,000 different companies, and by investing in that one fund, you're essentially invested in all 100 or 1,000 companies that fund holds. The benefit of doing this is if one of those companies has a bad year, you've got the other 99 or 999 companies in that fund to help prop up their performance. So diversification is important. You can also, though, be over-diversified. We've had a lot of physicians initially come to us and they've got 30 or 40 different mutual funds. If you look at the prospectuses of those funds and look at the top 10 holdings, you're going to see a lot of familiar names. You're going to see a lot of ExxonMobil's, Microsoft's, Amazon's, Apple's, Berkshire Hathaway's, the large U.S. domestic companies. So by owning a lot of funds, you end up unintentionally over-allocating yourself to specific companies, which invites in more risk. Finally, unmanaged costs. If you are invested in mutual funds or ETFs, make sure you know what the internal expense ratio is and make sure that the returns justify that expense ratio. If you work with a financial professional, make sure you understand how they're compensated and make sure that the services that they provide align with what they charge. Now that we've looked at the key reasons for investment loss, let's look at the key determinants of investment success. A Nobel Prize-winning study was conducted to determine just this. From this study, they found that there are 3 key determinants of long-term investment success. 5% is based on security selection, so which stocks, bonds, or funds you're using, only 5%. 2% is based on market timing, the idea of buying low and selling high. 93% is based on asset class selection and how well that asset allocation applies to you at different stages in your life. For example, when you are younger, You typically want a larger percentage of your investment allocation in equity categories like large cap, small cap, and international companies. As you approach or enter retirement, you transition a percentage of your investments into bond categories. What percentage of your investments you have in large cap, small cap, international, domestic bonds, international bonds in real estate, and how well those percentages align with the investment goals you have at various stages of your life is by far the biggest determinant of long-term investment success. It is critical that you get this right. If you are unsure of what percentage you should be investing into each category, we'd be happy to help. We'll discuss with you your rate of return requirements and risk tolerance and help you craft an appropriate allocation. There's no cost to this since you viewed our presentation today. It's too important that you get this right, so we encourage you to take advantage. The next key to successful investing is to have a process to keep you on track. This process is usually pretty straightforward. You start by analyzing your current position. You then design the optimal portfolio. This involves determining what percentage needs to go into each asset class category and selecting the investments you want to use to invest in each category. Next, and often most importantly, you formalize the investment policy statement. We often encourage our clients to put in writing, print out, and sign their investment policy statement. This policy should give guidelines for when you will make an investment and what types of investments you will purchase and for how much and how frequently. The investment policy should also state the reasons for why you will sell an investment. The investment policy statement is there to hold you accountable to a strategy and protect you from yourself when you are tempted to succumb to the emotions of investing. Next is to implement your strategy. This means purchasing the funds or investments you've selected in the amounts and percentages designated in your investment policy statement. Finally, you need to monitor the plan and make sure everything is staying in line with your strategy. About once a year, you should start the process over to make sure no changes need to be made.
Thanks, Jeff. Once a process is established to keep you on track to reach and maintain your retirement goals, estate planning should be next on the list. When planning your estate, there are several items to consider. The first being, why plan your estate? Some reasons we have seen are, you may want to make certain that the assets you have accumulated during your life are distributed to the people or organizations that are important to you. You may want to minimize the potential of estate taxation. And finally, you may want to provide specific bequests or gifts to various charitable organizations past your death. Next, you should consider what legal documents you should have in place. The most basic documents to establish are a will, which typically controls distribution only if the assets are owned solely in one name and if there is no beneficiary designation. A trust, which will typically control distribution of assets that have been titled to the trust prior to death or that are paid to the trust at the time of death. And a power of attorney. A power of attorney authorizes someone else to handle certain matters such as finances or healthcare on your behalf. If a power of attorney is durable, it remains in effect if you become incapacitated, such as due to illness or an accident. We typically find a current review of the total estate planning process is critical for those in late career or already retired status. This can be a simple process, but one that is important to verify that your plans will be appropriately executed. If you do not have documents established, we suggest speaking with an estate planning attorney. Tax law changes have resulted in federal taxes becoming less onerous. Currently, the federal estate tax exemption amount is $12.06 million for an individual and $24.12 million for a married couple. However, there are substantial changes that are expected no later than the end of year 2025, which will reduce the federal exemption amount to $5 million for an individual and $10 million for a married couple. States also can have an estate or inheritance tax. In Illinois, estates above $4 million will be subject to a state estate tax. Finally, if you are considering charitable gifting as either part of your retirement or estate planning, there are several techniques you can utilize. Some are very easy to execute but offer limited income tax benefits, such as gifts of cash, checks, or using credit cards, while others are a bit more complicated but provide potential benefits you might want to consider, such as qualified charitable distributions, gifts of appreciated securities, and the use of donor-advised funds. Let's explore in a bit more detail. As mentioned previously, for those who are age 72 or better, the government requires you to take distributions from your IRA or 401k accounts. They allow assets in such accounts to not be taxed until you begin to withdraw the funds from your account. Assets in these accounts can be used to help you make more tax-efficient charitable contributions through qualified charitable distributions. Based on current law, up to $100,000 in total can be directed to any number of qualified charities each year. By doing so, you are not required to claim these withdrawals from the account as income. Donating appreciated securities can also be considered. Appreciated securities are items such as shares of stock, mutual funds, or exchange-traded funds that have increased in value since the date of purchase. Such appreciation is usually not taxed until the asset is sold. Generally, the gain, simply the difference between the purchase price and selling price, is taxed at a long-term capital gains tax rate of typically 15%. Some individuals may think they should sell such an asset, pay the capital gains tax so they can have the cash to give to their favorite charity. That could be a costly mistake. Appreciated securities can also be used for charitable contributions. The full value of the appreciated asset can be considered as a charitable gift. In more advanced situations, you may consider creating entities for gifting, such as foundations, or you may consider the use of various charitable trusts. These are more complicated arrangements and require careful legal assistance to make certain all is prepared correctly. And finally, the easiest way for individuals to make gifts is to either donate cash, write a check, or charge the gift on their credit card. Very simple process to get an amount to your preferred charity. Gifts like this generally qualify as a charitable donation, and as such might be able to reduce your taxable income, and thus have the potential to reduce your income taxes. However, just because a gift can be considered a charitable donation does not mean you will receive a tax benefit because of the higher standard deduction available for many taxpayers. A related strategy is found with the use of a donor-advised fund. This tool can be combined with the combination of appreciated securities and the ability to make gifts to multiple organizations in a very simple manner. Donor-advised funds are easy to arrange and can become very effective tax planning and charitable giving tools. Let's see how a donor-advised fund works. Let's assume you own stock that has appreciated in value. If you wanted to give the value of the stock, you could sell the stock and pay capital gains tax, and the remaining value is available for contribution. However, you can also donate the stock to a donor-advised fund. The contribution of the stock can create the charitable deduction equal to the fair market value of the stock donated. Once received by the donor-advised fund, the fund can sell that stock and not pay any capital gains tax. Why? Simply because the donor-advised fund is considered a charitable entity. The proceeds of the sale can be reinvested, and then you are able to direct grants from the donor-advised fund to the charitable organizations of your choice. For example, the DuPage County Medical Society. Of course, other various qualified charities can also benefit by such grants. Be aware administrative fees and investment fees may apply, and it is important to consult with your tax advisor regarding your own personal tax situation.
Thanks, Julie. So to conclude our presentation today, let's summarize the keys to a successful retirement and a financially successful retirement. First, have a plan both socially and financially. 2, verify your plan with a financial professional. 3, have a Social Security strategy in mind. 4, know where remaining income will come from. 5, understand the tax impact of different distributions. 6, know your retirement savings number. 7, have an investment strategy leading up to and in retirement. 8, avoid investment mistakes. 9, have a process to stay on track. 10, get your estate plan in order. And 11, make smart charitable donations. If you follow these 11 steps, you are significantly more likely to have a successful retirement. We've talked about the ways you may have a successful retirement. Let's quickly touch on why you may not have a successful retirement. Our experience has been that the number one reason that physicians fail financially is procrastination. Oftentimes, physicians know the things they have to put in place to be successful, but they get pushed to the back burner. The excuse we hear most often is some variation of life gets in the way. If you want to have a successful retirement, you have to carve out the time to implement the mechanisms that will enable you to succeed. Please be proactive. Everything we've talked about today is part of a larger formula to success. Financial success is a combination of investing, advanced planning, and relationship management. Investing is not just about choosing the right stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. It's about getting your allocation right and mitigating risk as much as possible. Advanced planning involves wealth preservation. It also includes wealth enhancement, which includes cash flow management and tax mitigation. Wealth transfer and making sure your money passes at your death to the people you care for most. Asset protection. We live in a litigious society, and unfortunately many physicians have targets on their backs. It's important to make sure as many of your assets as possible are protected in the event you are sued. Finally, charity and making sure you're giving back in the most tax-efficient ways possible. The final piece of the formula is relationship management. Are all the financial professionals on your team communicating and all working as one towards your goals? Is the left hand talking to the right? Your financial professionals should be in contact and discussing the best ways to assist you on a regular basis. If you're looking at this formula and are unsure if you are doing the right thing in any of these areas, you are not alone, and we are available to help. Now, our experience has been that 4 out of 5 physicians and their families cannot say with confidence that they are doing the right things. We'll mention it again here. If you make a $350 donation to the DuPage Medical Foundation, we will complete a no-cost review. Following this review, you will be able to say with confidence that you are on track and that you're doing the right things. What's included in the review? We'll complete a retirement section. So based off of what age you want to retire at and how much income you want each year in retirement, we'll tell you exactly how much you need to save and help you identify what accounts to use to reach your goals as efficiently as possible. We will complete a risk management section where we'll calculate if you have adequate amounts of disability and life insurance. We'll evaluate if long-term care insurance is something you should consider. If you have children and you want to save for their college educations, we'll calculate how much you need to save each month. We'll also help you identify which 529s to use. We'll complete an investment section for you where we'll review the investments you're currently using to see if you're in strong investments or if any changes should be considered. We'll also help you figure out that all-important asset allocation mix. Finally, we'll do basic asset protection and estate planning reviews. Do you have assets unnecessarily at risk in the event that you're sued? Do you need wills, trusts, power of attorneys, etc.? Again, all of this at no cost, a $750 value if you make a $350 donation. Help a good cause and get some help yourself.